Well, what an episode this is going to be. So welcome to Outdoor Man. This episode is about a vegan hunter. It's about Katie, who is an artist, vegan and a hunter. She is a considerable, brilliant artist, but on the offside of that, she's got a bit of an education when it comes to the hunting and the conservation through the art. Anyway, so I sat down with her and spoke about when she went hunting, her thoughts on ethics, game shooting, and all that goes on in the countryside. But before we delve in, please hit the subscribe button and check all my other recordings out. And without further ado, let's delve straight in. Tell me a bit about yourself. How did all this come about? So you've done some forward blood origins and fieldsports channel as well with Charlie. This is such a weird concept. It is unreal. I love it. I think it's great.
I know it's such a I think a lot of people struggle to kind of understand it straight away, especially straight away. They're just like, but how does that work? So I've been a vegan for almost 5 years, and I'm also pro hunting and pro conservation hunting, and I've been involved in the kind of field sports world with my art. So I've kind of developed some business relationships in there, and I've been kind of thrust into this world whilst also being in the kind of vegan world, and it's quite an interesting place to be, because I think a lot of vegans obviously are quite anti-hunting and don't know a lot about what the benefits are, and so I think that I'm in a unique position where I have insight into both worlds, and I can kind of try and find some common ground, which I really think there are many examples of.
I totally agree. Though it's funny, in the last 12 months, I've gone from having a horrendous diet to trying to fuel myself properly, because I like my triathlons and bits and pieces. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, too much Dr. Pepper is a bad thing. So I've changed my diet massively, and I even looked at the vegan route, and I was very much Game Changers has a big thing to do with it all, on Netflix. And I watched that, and then I listened to a podcast from Joe Rogan, who had a vegan nutritionist on there, and he talks about it, and actually he's now not vegan, various bits and pieces. And then my diet went from, maybe I should have a clean diet, and at one point I was almost vegetarian, and now I've started the podcast. I've now trying to promote game and what you can do with it. So I just try and eat cleanly now, but I can see exactly where you're coming from, 100%.
Yeah, I think with diet and nutrition, like obviously there's so many opinions out there, but ultimately the ones like the diets that work and last and are sustainable for you to like enjoy it is clean food, stuff that's not processed. So that can incorporate veganism. It could also be like a paleo type thing. And actually, just before I went vegan, I was kind of eating very paleo anyways, and that was like great. And then I kind of transitioned and went through different stages of health and veganism, because obviously, like, you could be a vegan and eat crisps and dark chocolate all day, but it's kind of a different thing. But I think lots of unprocessed vegetables based, kind of plant-based diet, and if that includes meat or whatever, then that's your choice. But
no, I think definitely a clean diet is the way forward, and like I said, I think game is absolutely wasted in the UK, and that's because it's so abundant, unfortunately. Like in America, you've got to actually work for your food. If and you can't sell it in various bits and pieces. So the UK is very different like that. Which actually brings me on to my next point. So I asked you what was your take on game shooting, because I know you've done some painting for it, so you've been around it.
Yeah.
But ethics is a very grey line when it comes to pheasant shooting in the UK.
Well, it's interesting because this is a topic that I've been kind of unsure of for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm still in a process of learning about it and trying to get my head around what I think is right and wrong and whatever.
Yeah.
And yes, I've drawn some kind of shooting pictures. They're quite nondescript, so they could be clay pigeon, who knows? But it's a complex one because, you know, reared and driven game type of situation, it's not exactly ethical because, you know, you're bringing a life into this world and then it has kind of one direction, and it's not, you know, guaranteed to be killed or anything, but it's a little bit less kind of wild than hunting a roe would be. But it's hard because I've spoken to a lot of gamekeepers trying to work out, you know, what the benefits are, because I think that's the thing, you've got to look at a topic and go, right, what are all the factors that are contributing and coming out of it, and then you can make a decision, because, you know, otherwise you're just not educating yourself. And you know, the benefits are incredible for wildlife, for conservation of songbirds, and, you know, you have that money coming in for game shooting, which is providing all of these benefits for the landscape of the place where the shoot is. You're encouraging kind of the growth of inhabitable land for wildlife and game crops and woodland and that kind of maintenance, which without that money coming in from shooting, like, that's probably not going to happen, and you're going to have more just farmland or whatever. And so it's so hard because it's like there's no real alternative to finding that kind of resource. And I think it would be great if people like wanted to pay the same amount of money to go and like shoot some cabbages that are flung up or something. And maybe there needs to be a, you know, more creative thinking around solutions to.
Yeah, I think the big driven shoots are in trouble, in my opinion. I don't even know if I could sit here and justify a 300 or 400 bird day. I know there's a lot I know a lot comes out of it, and to be honest, I know we're releasing a non-native species and bits and pieces of that, but pheasants are a fantastic looking bird, and if you just go down that route itself, if a good shoot has 40% a year return, that's a lot of birds actually left in the countryside. For people to look at, and it's a funny one. Even I don't even think I'd want to try and justify it. I know I said it before on one of my episodes, and I can't remember for the life of me the figure, but the amount of money that is that changed hands business wise through it's done through shooting is astronomical. I mean, that could happen. I suppose you could say, well, it could happen on a golf course or something, and it probably would do. But there's something about when you've got a team of 8 and they're together, camaraderie, they're having a good day, they're having a bit of fun.
Yeah,
I think it works better than it would do on the golf course, and that's just one part of the cog that moves the whole machine. And I've said it before, said it about fox hunting. I love the foxhounds. I love to watch hounds work. I love to hear them cry. That's one of my really big passions. And I know it's such a controversial topic. But if you take out the fact that originally we were trying to kill the fox with a pack of hounds, just for a second, and look at the work that the hunt staff do, you know, they take dead game, they take all the dead stock from farmers. They lay covers, which originally obviously for foxes to go in, but that produces a habitat for birds. I mean, I think the pros outweigh the cons, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's kind of a similar thing with, you know, you can the very idea of the death of the animal that's the kind of thing that comes out when people think about it, or that's what the press will, monopolize on. But the whole kind of backstory and yeah, everyone that's working towards this thing, it's so vastly different from what you think initially. And I think it's so important that people start to really take in all the information, because it's such an emotive issue. I think that's the problem with any kind of animal rights thing. It's a very emotional kind of problem for lots of people. And when emotions get involved, then you don't really listen to reason and form proper judgments. But that being said, obviously I am a vegan, and I'm very strongly, into my ethics, and that's why I'm kind of in this position of kind of a weird world where there are a couple of other people that have reached out to me being like, I'm the same, and it's amazing, because I thought I was the only one.
Very, very small niche.
Yeah, it is very niche, but I think
you've got it right, 100%. I really think you've got it right.
Thank you. I'm trying, and I'm still learning. I'm learning about shooting and trying to work out all of that. And to be honest, I've never been on a shoot, and I don't know whether I want to. I don't know. It doesn't really interest me that much.
The thing for a shoot is you'd have to go along and see 2 or 3 different ones to work out whether you liked it or not.
Yeah.
Because you could go somewhere up the road from me, big 300 bird day, and it'd be mass slaughter.
Yeah.
Or you could go to my shoot, which is 100 acres, family shoot. We're all included.
Yeah.
And you'll see me as well. Is it going to get past the guns? Oh no, it got shot. And I'm oh, not another one. And then you could go to something like Dad at Sandringham, and it's completely different again. And it's a very funny one. I mean, I'm not a big driven game shooter. It doesn't interest me whatsoever. I've been there, worked on it. I've done it 12 months, and I hated every second of it.
Really.
But the other thing I've definitely got to ask you is about your hunting, your deer stalking.
Yeah.
I mean, you said to Robbie you've done it twice now, haven't you? Because you shot a roe and then a Chinese water deer. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So I shot the roe back in maybe 4 or 5 years ago. No, 4 years ago probably. And yeah, it was a very emotional experience. I was vegan at the time, and but I believed in conservation hunting, and so I was quite happy, that I believed it was the right thing to do. Yeah. It was good to get involved, and yeah, it was emotional. And then back in the winter. In the winter, I'm saying it like it was ages ago. We're probably still in it, but
just doing it.
Yeah, I think it was December, November. Can't remember. It wasn't that significant. Wasn't that much fun. No, I'm kidding. I went on the Fieldsports channel with David and Paul Childerley, and we stalked a Chinese water deer, and it was a very different experience, I think, because it was in front of a camera, and also I had become a little bit more used to seeing, I guess, deer stalking online and everything. Yeah. It wasn't as emotional. It was quite, obviously very humbling and very, it was emotive, but it wasn't the same kind of outburst. A couple of people were just like, why didn't you cry? Why didn't you get emotional? I was like, I'm sorry. I did inside.
If you wrap around it, you're not going to get emotional about it.
Yeah.
I'm the same, even now. I mean, my dad makes me laugh. So we're very similar. And like, if I wound something, I could give it all up there and then. That's it. It just has my head in, I feel so sorry for it. And I'm what you'd call a pathetic hunter, I suppose.
No, that's good. That is like the right way to be, because if you don't care about that, like, come on.
And I find it hard, and then I find I put so much pressure on myself, and everything becomes much harder to do.
Yeah.
But if your head's wrapped around it, it's right. On Robbie's on the Blood Origins episode, he said about, we all have that sad feeling that once we first walk up to it, and I think he's absolutely true. I don't think there's one person I spoke to who's gone, do you actually? I don't really care.
Yeah.
It's all all part of it, and I'm a big strong believer of that.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference between, getting emotional and having the respect for what you've just done. Yeah. And I think if you lose that respect, if you lose that kind of feeling of, wow, I've just killed something, then I don't think you should be doing it, because you're not in the right kind of connective mindset.
100%.
Yeah.
No, it's a funny one. People don't understand. People don't understand it. I mean, when I used to fly the eagle for the foxhounds, I'd have aunties come up to me. Yeah, how can you do it? You got the bird of prey. You must love animals. How can you do this? And it's like, yeah, but I've got respect for the fox. I've got respect for the hounds, and that bird to do what it's designed to do, which is hunt and catch. There's no better. In my eyes, no better thing about it, and that's all three. Actually, that's all three things: the fox surviving, the eagle flying, and the hounds hunting. They're all doing what they're designed to do, and it's never ever been about the catch for me, ever.
That's the thing. Actually, it's quite interesting, because people not in this world, in this kind of lifestyle or industry or anything, they see it as people that go hunting can't love wildlife because they're killing it. But it's like, we're the people, or not we, because I don't really hunt much, but people that go hunting, people that go shooting, they're the most likely to be massive fans of wildlife, trying to support it. They're the ones that are actually like doing something practical about helping wildlife, and maintaining kind of good population sizes and everything. And it's very much the opposite of how it's perceived, which is obviously what you're trying to kind of educate on this podcast, which is pretty cool.
I try and sit on the fence with it all, especially with the podcast. I try and be impartial. Even my Instagram, you get from Instagram and there's not a picture of a dead animal. Yeah. Because that's not what it's about for me. I know I could get thousands of followers if I started putting up, the foxes that I shoot with a night sight and putting them sort of videos up. But that's not what it's about for me. It's about trying to educate people on, this is why we hunt, this is what we're doing. If you want to be against it, be against it. That's not a problem. But please understand why we're doing it, so then we can move forward. And because we can't stop interfering now. Because if we stop interfering now, the balance is too unbalanced now. Yeah. So we're going to have to play that game, unfortunately.
Well, the problem ultimately is humans. Like, we're so involved in our landscape, there isn't really any wild space anymore. No. And if we just go, we'll let nature do its thing, like, that would be really irresponsible, because we've messed around so much and got involved, and just our mere presence and our kind of commercial growth of population, and it's too far. Like you said, we can't not intervene anymore.
I have to smile. Saturday morning, I had some news, and my granddad passed away, and I couldn't sleep. So I thought, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go for a run, and just work things out in my head and everything else. So I get the dog at 3:00 in the morning, and out we go. And I was running through my village, up through there's a town. It's actually a town. I was going through some houses, and all of a sudden, this whacking great badger just comes flying out of the garden, and like my spaniel's like on top of it. I'm like, no! I grab the dog, pull him back, and I was like, what are you doing in the middle of town? This is mental, and that to me is a shows really what we can't not intervene now, because we're integrating too much, and we've got to. Someone else said to me, I think actually it's in Bury, somebody in Bury has got a muntjac and a baby muntjac living in their garden in the middle of town. So unfortunately, we've got to do something to help balance it out, because there's no in between anymore. And I was going to ask one more question, but I think you'll find we've covered it anyway, which was the hunting and conservation working together. But I think we've just done that one.
Yeah.
But no, it's interesting. I mean, I love it. I don't know. Started to record a video for small birds in the garden and how to get them in. I talk about how everyone's got like minimalist gardens and stuff. So we need, you know, the likes of myself and you to push the word that actually outside of that, you know, your house, the garden, we need to do more to help the birds, because otherwise we're going to have nothing.
Yeah. I'm so fortunate here because we've got a very nice garden and there's lots of songbirds around, and I've become a bit of a twitcher over the last lockdown.
Yeah.
Well, actually all year. But it's such a joy, and I think it's difficult to even imagine like those birds not being around, or you know, just seeing magpies everywhere. And some people do, and some people have gardens full of magpies, seagulls, and crows, and that's it. And it's just, you know, we want the diversity because it's wonderful. And I think with conservation, it's a very difficult subject to kind of educate on, because people that are not involved in hunting have very strong opinions. Like I think most people have an opinion about hunting if they know about it.
There's no sit on the fence with it. You can't sit on the fence.
Yeah, and I think honestly, I think that a lot of judgments and kind of presumptions about hunting are formed in childhood when we watch things like Bambi or Pocahontas or Fox and the Hound, and it's incredible how that kind of influence can just carry on, and it's scary because it's like, you know, 5-year-olds forming opinions there.
Yeah, I done something very stupid because of my humour.
Oh God.
Last year, I think it was. I had a young boy and his father come out with me around the pheasants when I was checking my pulse, and I shot a rabbit for my eagle. And he went, "Oh, it's still twitching." And I went, "Yeah. Have you seen Watership Down?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, this is the black rabbit's come to get it," like that. And you just see the father go, "Oh." And that was it. I almost made an ante there and then. You know, this little boy. That wasn't the best move I've made. You know, quite another analogy, I think.
Well, it's amazing because they personify animals very, very well and successfully, and we love it and we watch it, and but you know, we can't then allow that to influence us too much because it's a very different story. And I think that is one of the hardest things that I've had to kind of talk about with non-hunters or vegans or anti-people, is that, you know, it is killing something, but it's for its benefit as a whole species. And that's, I think that is partially like our kind of individualistic mindset as a population now. As humans, we kind of think of the eye. And so if you think of the eye in terms of the deer that you just shot, okay, that's pretty unfortunate. But ultimately, like, that is helping to contribute a healthy population for the whole species so that there is longevity in its, you know, survival. And it's a difficult concept to wrap your head around because it's kind of like not a sacrifice, but it's a something that has to happen for the benefit down the road. And it's hard to see that kind of in the present moment, seeing that kind of future long-term perspective.
I agree. And I said to you on the phone, like, you know, I see shooting and conservation, you know, like baking a cake. You know, if you miss the eggs out or the flour, you're not going to have the cake. It's going to be ruined. And that's the way I still talk about it now. You know, it needs to be. We all need to be there to make it whole and to do it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for doing it. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you.
Oh, it's lovely to talk to you.
Well, I told you it was different, and it certainly was. That was Katie, who has, well, I can't say thank you enough because that has been this episode has actually made my day to record it. So just a little thank you again to her, and also check out her website, which is in the description below, for the art. And that's it. Subscribe, like, share, comment, because it doesn't work without you. Thank you very much. Till next time, catch you later.